Welcome back to Bay Sunday. Our next guest was born in Sri Lanka, raised there and in England as well before coming to the United States. She is a professor, a writer, a PEN USA fellow, and here to talk about Indivisible, an anthology of contemporary South Asian American poetry, which she co-edited. Please welcome Pireeni Sundaralingam.
Good morning, Frank.
Good to have you
Hi.
with us. Well, we were just saying, but this was 7 years in the making, right?
Yes.
How did you get started? What planted that seed?
I don't know if we would have done the project if we had known it would take 7 years. It started as a small seed idea. Kim Macmillan, one of the great kind of literary figures here in the city, approached us and said, you know, post 9/11, there's really been a diminishment of voices and poets from the South Asian community. You know, where are all the Americans who came from South Asia, the writers? We don't hear their voices so much anymore. And so she said, could you put together a very little book, maybe 4 or 5 poets? And once we started doing some research, my co-editors and I rapidly discovered that, in fact, there had never been an anthology of American poets who had come from South Asia. Some of the first anthologies of other ethnic groups date back to 1838.
Sure.
And so nobody had done this, and we thought, well, we took it upon ourselves.
And you figured a year or two, and here we are,
Exactly.
year 7.
Yes.
And it's finally different. Well, you must look at it and be very proud.
We're very happy with how it turned out.
And how many poets, how many people submitted work, and how did you whittle it down?
Well, we had a several-tier process. Firstly, we knew that there were certain poets who were well established, and we wanted to make sure that their work was represented in the book. So of course we included those poets, but we also had an open call for submissions because we wanted to find out who were the new young voices out there, someone who had not been discovered. And that's really one of the most exciting roles for an editor, to find a new voice and to help them come into the light. So we had an open call for submissions, and we had close to 400 poets writing to us, each of them sending us a huge package of poems, and then each one of the 3 editors read every one of those close to 400 submissions, and we had to then duke it out between us.
I like this one. I don't
Exactly.
know, that kind of thing. Would you actually sit down and just...
We did.
We all read this. What do you think?
Exactly.
Is it worthy?
And we all came from Nilanjana Banerjee and Sumi Kaipa, my 2 co-editors, come from very different poetic disciplines. So we were, I suppose, quite fair in covering all the bases, but of course we had quite huge differences in what we thought was good poetry. And in the process of putting the book together, I think we really had to defend the poets who we had selected and learn more about the process of poetry ourselves.
And yourself, you've got 3 entries in there, and my favorite's Vermont, 1885, because you went to MIT.
I did.
And I spent 20 some odd years up in New Hampshire, and it's all about snowflakes, I guess, right?
It is. I'm glad you like it, Frank. It's just, you know, I was walking through MoMA a couple of years ago, and I saw a photograph by W.A. Bentley, and there was a great story behind him. He was a young farm boy who had never been allowed to go to university and study science, and he became fascinated with snowflakes, and decided that he was going to use this newfangled contraption, new technology, the camera, to try and capture snow. And everyone thought he was a fool and derided him. They used to call him Snowflake Bentley because they didn't think there was much who would photograph snow. It's just cold and wet and white. And so he was the one who discovered the beauty of the snow crystals. And not only that, he was the one who worked out eventually that every single snow crystal is unique, like a human soul.
Well, there you go. I'm sure he's mighty proud, looking down below right now. Now, were you aware there were so many poets from...
I wasn't. I was happily surprised.
I guess.
Yes.
And were you blown away by the submissions? I mean, was it just great work, or did you have kind of a wide spectrum of good and wonderful and not so good, that kind of thing?
I think there's always a variety, especially because we opened up the call to really anyone who wanted. They didn't need to be a prize winner to submit to the anthology. And so sometimes there were people who had been writing, you know, in a little room at home for years and had never been discovered. And sometimes there were young kids who were writing in. And so there was a variety of styles and expertise. But, you know, some of the poets surprised us.
Well, you're getting rave reviews. It's a great read, and we thank you for coming in.
Thanks so much, Frank.
Very
Bye.
nice. If you'd like more information about Pireeni and Indivisible, log on to indivisibleanthology.com to check out the book. Back with more Bay Sunday right after the break.